What's the background of the creation of Les Mis?
Two French writers, Boublil and Schonberg, both Frenchmen, decided to use Victor Hugo's Les Miserables as a storyline. It had been turned, it's a very popular piece. It's still taught in many languages around the globe because the theme of it is so universal. It's about redemption, it's about pure love, and it's about social injustice. Hugo finished Les Miserables in 1845. The incident that the writers chose was the June Revolution in 1832. And it was just about 8,000 people, and in a city the size of Paris, that's not very many, and it was just one night.
It was just 8,000 people that were rebelling.
People. Yeah, and as it is in the play, they were annihilated. And these were mostly students with, the concept that the original French Revolution had, equality, fraternity.
Red, the blood of angry men. Black, the dawn of ages past. Red, a world about to dawn. Black, the night that ends at last.
So, what is the story about? It does. It follows the story of a man who has been unjustly put into prison. Well, justly put into prison, I guess. Technically he stole a loaf of bread, but his sister's child was starving half to death. So he is released from jail after 19 years. It was just a shorter sentence, but he kept trying to escape, blah, blah, blah.
He was in jail for how long?
19 years.
For stealing a piece of bread.
Well, he kept trying to get away.
So, monsieur, you may release him, for this man has spoken true. I commend you for your beauty. Now God's blessing go with you.
The Bishop of Dinge and Fantine were people that he had a familiarity with their plight. I mean, they were not necessarily integral to the story. But so we watched Jean Valjean, who leaves prison wanting to become a good man, but the yellow ticket of leave prevents him from working anywhere. So this Bishop of Dinge finds him and gives him food, and he's afraid, so he steals.
The old fool trusts me, done his bit of good. I played the grateful servant, thanked him like I should. But when the house was still, I got up in the night. Took my silver, took my food.
And the constables, of course, catch him right away. And this is a traditional story that is told in churches, the bishop's candlesticks. He forgives them and says, oh, you left too early. Here, take these. You left the most valuable behind. And with that, he has an epiphany and says, I'm not going to live like this anymore. I'm going to live a good life. And then the next time we catch up with him, he's the mayor of a town 10 years later. And we see that he's a generous man. But there's a scuffle in the factory that he owns, and he lets the foreman take care of it. Well, in that process, he let Fantine, the main female role, I guess. Well, there are so many main roles. The bottom line is, for Fantine, she had to turn to prostitution. was fired from her job. And the real Fantine was riddled with, or Hugo's Fantine was riddled with tuberculosis. So she was never healthy and never looks as beautiful as the Fantines we see initially on stage. And they meet again later, Fantine and Valjean, and she says, "You're the one who turned me away. You turned your back on me." He sees she's dying, he stops the arrest, she goes to the hospital, and he promises there that he will take care of the child. So we've got this one storyline of Valjean fulfilling his promise and being a do-gooder. Also from that, the constable, the officer at the jail, is his arch enemy because once he realizes that Valjean is loose and not paying attention to his yellow papers, he just doesn't know where he is. Apparently he can't recognize him. So there's a tension between them, and it's not good and bad. It is not good and bad. It is a man who believes firmly in the law and that it should apply universally. We don't like him a lot because he keeps messing around with our lead guy.
Them to believe in the death of a thief. Them to believe at the end of the chase. I am the law, and the law is not mocked. I'll spit his pity right back in his face. There is nothing on earth that we share. It is our for Javert.
We've got that story of revenge. And then the others are wonderful little side plots. We've got Madame and Monsieur Thénardier, who are con artists. And that's how eventually Javert gets to know that Valjean is in Paris.
The prince, the God Almighty, haven't seen what's happened since. Master of the house isn't worth me spit. Comforter, philosopher, and lifelong shit. Little breaking the full town. Thinks he's quite a lover, but there's not much. What trick of nature. Lady with such loves. God knows how I lasted me with this bastard in the house.
By now we've moved to Paris. Cosette is 20. And she lives with Jean Valjean in complete isolation because of his fear. Well, they were going to the market one day, and it's what I have heard called a meat quick. You know, he brushes into her, the basket falls to the floor, and his books drop, and it's love at first sight. And two of our actors are exactly the right age. They're both still in high school. And it is just like this kismet moment. They're so cute. And so the story unfolds continually of the plight of the poor and the women. If you recall in Streetcar Named Desire, Stanley's always talking about the Napoleonic Code. Well, the Napoleonic Code says women are property. And so they were bearing babies until they were so sick and died, hence all the orphans. And that was, you know, if you read much about Hugo, he was real intent on the inequities for the children, the homeless children, and the women. And then we have the bourgeois, I guess, the students who are trying for some of that social justice. That's where we come to the battle of the June Rebellion of 18 32. And according to a traditional definition of tragedy, this doesn't fit because no one falls from a high place to disaster. I mean, they rise. But we have a lot of dead people by the end, and how we've treated this in the show is they are always shown in a specific light. They're backlit usually, and the barricade, Phil Murphy was my associate director, and he had this great idea that, how to get the barricade off with dead men on it. So they all are shot on the ground. That's where they land, off the barricade. And as women did in the American Revolution, they go out and pick up their sons, and they pick up the refuge of war. And it's absolutely heart-wrenching. And then the ghosts rise and exit. The show ends on a very hopeful note.
Right.
So you leave with some bittersweet because you're sad that those favorite characters of yours have died, but the ensemble is the key to this. So we have double cast for 11 people. The rest of these people play multiple roles, probably. Well, I know Ward plays 4. He plays the bishop, he plays the thief, he is in the ball, the wedding ceremony at the end, and I think he's in the barricade. He comes on as one of the thieves who has said, oh, there's a war going on, I'll just join the group. And these folks are so creative. We performed in front of a group the other night, and one of the questions, just a few numbers here, one of the questions from the audience was, so how many people would you say were directing this, were involved in the directing? And I just turned to the cast and said, 65. But that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, because I can say to the barricade boys, the boys who die in the barricade, okay, we need this to come here, and then they would work it out. The only thing I really had to direct them is not to click the gun and then have the gun fire. You have to pretend that you're clicking the gun. So I'm so proud of this ensemble. Never complaint, lots of suggestions, but they usually offer a solution. And it was only just 2 nights ago that I said, okay, I'm done with suggestions.
When does it open and how long does it run
It
for?
opens this Friday, the 4th of October, and runs through the first week in November.
Wow.
It runs every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at 7:30 p.m., and there's a matinee every Sunday at 3 p.m., and the cast alternates by night. So it'll be the Boublil cast, then the Macintosh cast, then the Boublil cast. So if you're got 2 people in each cast, then when your parents come to visit, they can see you both in one weekend.
Do you hear the people?